Hey everybody, welcome back to Daryl D TV. Thank you for joining me. Today, once again, we're going to talk about the greatest of all time, the one and only Prince. And again, we're going to be referencing some of his bootleg vinyl. Now, I know in some past videos I've actually spotlighted several pieces of vinyl on an episode, but I decided that what I would do from here on out is basically just focus on one release at a time so we can get a little more personal with that actual release. This particular release is entitled When Doves Cry, It's a Sign of the Times. And this was actually released in 1988, although it's from the 1987 Prince World Tour. This was released on a label called Aphrodisiac Records, which was a bootleg label out of California. It is double vinyl, a double vinyl release. And even though the title is When Doves Cry, It's a Sign of the Times, the actual label says The Black Prince on it. Now, what's interesting about that is there were at least 6 different versions of this particular show that were released. 6 different bootleg vinyl versions. One of those versions was indeed entitled The Black Prince. But this is definitely the vinyl that goes along with this particular picture sleeve and artwork. But there are other versions out there, and I believe the earliest release was 1987, the same year of the tour. But this particular release was a 1988 release. So we'll come back to that. And I'm going to be periodically referencing the back of the record, which I'll show you a little later on because it has the song titles, and I'll be referencing those as we go along. Okay, so let's get right into it. The first thing is, once again, this was recorded on May 9th, 1987 in Sweden. Doesn't say exactly where in Sweden, but that's just the information that I have. This tour did feature Sheila E. So she's all over, the tour doing, her different performances. And we'll talk about her a little bit later. The show opens up with a guitar solo. I'm assuming it's Miko Weaver because he also was on this tour. I'm not sure because I don't have the visuals, but I think that's a safe bet to say it was Miko Weaver. Now, the song list goes like this. The first song, from the guitar solo, it goes into Sign of the Times. The Sign of the Times is classic Prince form. This is when the same year, 1987, when Sign of the Times actually came out. So this was heavy rotation. You guys that remember when that was released, Sign of the Times had a lot of singles that were charted. So it was a huge album, and this tour was in no doubt support of that album. So he starts off strong, doesn't have any kind of crazy intro other than the Miko Weaver guitar solo, but he kind of just goes right into it. And for the most part, all of the songs that Prince performed is pretty true to the record. There are some various changes on some of the songs, which we'll get into a little bit. But for the most part, he performs them pretty much just like they are on the record, with a few changes here and there that we'll actually talk about. So after Sign of the Times, the second song is Play in the Sunshine, which was also off of the Sign of the Times LP. Great song. The third song he goes into is Little Red Corvette, followed by Housequake, one of my favorite Prince songs of all time. And the Housequake song, what's really special about this performance is it has a crazy horn solo. I'm not sure who actually is performing that, but there's a crazy horn solo on Housequake. After Housequake is Girls and Boys. But what's a little weird is that on this album, it's actually mistitled on the back. And instead of Girls and Boys, it's I Love You Baby. I love you baby, I love you so much, maybe we can, you know what I'm saying. So they titled it I Love You Baby, That's a mistitle. It's actually the song Girls and Boys. So that's like the A side. When we go into the B side, it goes into Slow Love, another one of my favorite Prince songs of all time. And the second song on the B side is I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man. After that, we go into Hot Thing. Hot Thing again has a crazy horn solo in there. It's really, really ill. He really does a great job on that song. Whoever the horn player is, you have to kind of do that research yourself. And then what's also very interesting is there's a jam session after Hot Thing where, classic Prince fashion, he's getting down with his band. Another interesting part about this bootleg record is that on the actual record, the last song on side B, it just has drum solo listed. If you look down at the bottom, it says drum solo. There's a drum solo definitely on here, but the drum solo title or whatever you want to call it is not actually listed on the back of the record. So they did list it on the actual label on the vinyl, but they did not put it on the back of the picture sleeve. Just a little side note there. So now we jump into side C. Side C starts off with I Could If I Was Your Girlfriend. Another one. These are all classic Prince songs. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, who are Prince fans are familiar with all of these songs. But yeah, If I Was Your Girlfriend, he starts off with. The second song on the C side is Let's Go Crazy. Let's Go Crazy features a very nice Sheila E. solo on there. So you get to hear Sheila in all her glory. After Let's Go Crazy, they go into When Doves Cry. Now, the version of When Doves Cry on here is different than what you would hear on the record. So this is kind of a variation or a different version that they performed. Still good, still incredible, but different than what you would hear on the actual album. After When Doves Cry, they perform Purple Rain. Now, Purple Rain was always a super huge song, and what kind of surprised me on here is it was a shorter version of that song. I think Prince does like maybe just the first verse or maybe part of the first verse, and then he doesn't sing anymore on there. But the good thing is Miko Weaver comes in with a really incredible guitar solo. So even though we don't really get to see or get to hear, I'm sorry, the whole song in its glory, we do get to hear, Miko Weaver on the guitar solo. And I really, really enjoy Miko, or if it's Prince, when they just kind of take the guitar and just kind of, go solo on that and just kind of exclude that from everything else. I love the guitar. So that's even though we don't get the full version, we still get a really special version of Purple Rain. So after Purple Rain, we've got 1999, classic form. And after 1999, there's a song on the back of the record, of the back of the sleeve. I'll show you that in a second. It says Forever in My Life. Now, I'm not exactly familiar with that song. I'm not sure if that was on one of his major release records or one of just a song that never came out, that was never released. But that song is actually not on the vinyl anywhere. It's not listed and it's not actually on the vinyl. But for whatever reason, that song is featured on the back of the picture sleeve. But it does not appear on the vinyl for the record. So, side D, we have 3 more songs left. He goes into Kiss, coming to the conclusion of his show. After Kiss, he goes into The Cross. The Cross is also mistitled on this record. They actually wrote a cross, like as in walking across the street. Just got it wrong there, okay? And then he closes out the show with It's going to be a beautiful life. And I believe the whole entire show is right around 2 hours. So it's a nice, long, healthy performance. Again, this is an audience recording, and it's not professionally recorded. It's not the best sound, but it's still excellent to me. I'm not a stickler for like super crisp professional sound. It's a rare Prince bootleg record. What do you expect? Um, I remember back in the 90s talking to a guy who I used to buy bootlegs from, and he was saying, because I always wondered how they actually recorded this stuff. And he was telling me that, back in the days that Sony actually used to make a tiny little recorder, and they actually called it the bootlegger. And he knew a guy who would sell him lots of bootlegs, and that guy apparently had one. Now, I've never seen one, so don't exactly quote me on it. But apparently, this guy he knew used to hide it in his hat, and it had like a little microphone, and it was easily concealed. So I guess that was one way that they used to record, a lot of these concerts back in the day. One of the ways they were recording it, anyway. But yeah, the sound, you know, I have a Prince bootleg record where he's actually rehearsing in his studio, and the sound is like awful, like you can barely hear anything, but it's still Prince. So what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? You see a Prince bootleg, you grab it. You worry about the small stuff later. All right, so again, that's the front cover, and I want to show you what the back looks like because I want to show you the song titles. So there, like I said, that's Sweeten, World Tour 1987, Sign of the Times, Plain of Sunshine, Little Red Corvette, Housequake, and there is I Love You Baby, which should be Girls and Boys. Slow Love, I Can Never Take the Place of Your Man, Hot Thing, Jam Session. Again, after Jam Session, they should say Drum Solo because that's what's on the label. If I Was Your Girlfriend, Let's Go Crazy, When Doves Cry, Purple Rain, 1999, and Forever in My Life, which is not on this vinyl anywhere. Kiss, here's the mistitled Cross, where they wrote a cross. And of course, we close it out with It's Gonna Be a Beautiful Night. So, classic Prince vinyl. You can never go wrong with a Prince bootleg. And we will definitely be talking more about Prince and more about Prince bootlegs. If you haven't already seen them, go back and see my first two videos where I actually feature 5 different Prince bootlegs in each video. So go check that out. Yeah, I know it's looking kind of empty around here. I'm in the process of moving. So when I get set up in my new spot, I'll be coming at you from there or wherever I happen to be. Once again, to all the Prince fans, this is for you. To you hardcore fans like myself who go deep and go for the rare stuff, this is for you. Thanks again for watching. I'm Daryl D. This is Daryl D TV, and we'll see you next time. Peace and love.